What incredible thing happened to you when you were alone that no one believes happened? Every night, I put a plate of crunchy cat food on the outside doormat for a couple of outlaw cats that belong to the neighborhood. A couple of nights ago, I noticed that a raccoon was eating the food. I went to the door and sat down on the floor to watch the raccoon. It was standing on the doormat right near the door, using its front paws to put the food into its mouth. I tapped the glass with my fingernail 2 times. The raccoon dropped the food, looked me dead in the eye and used a claw to tap the glass 2 times, then went right on eating. My mom has a story where she gave a raccoon a raw egg once out the sliding glass door, and it came back every evening and knocked on the door and then held its paw out for an egg. Smart little buggers. I was sitting on a park bench eating a muffin. Suddenly a bird swoops down and hits the muffin out of my hand. Simultaneously 5 other birds congregate where the muffin is about to drop. The second it hits the ground they pick it apart and I am just sitting there in awe. I sat there for 10 minutes after they flew away and processed that I just got jumped by a bunch of birds and it seemed to be choreographed. I once dropped my phone and kicked it back up before it hit the ground, catching it in my hand. It hurt my foot, but it worked. Probably a bit darker than the OP wanted, but hey, why not? I was walking home from school one day. I was maybe 8 or 9 when man pulled up and asked for directions. At this point, I had seen all the commercials that were so famous in the 90s about stranger danger, so I did not speak. He then asked me if I could get closer to the car and show him. When I finally did speak up and told him I had to go, he kept urging me to come closer to the car. I proceeded to immediately run home to tell my parents, but they did not believe me. I lived in a white, upper-class neighborhood in Canada, so they thought that shit did not happen. I mean, heck, they let an 8-year-old walk a kilometer home from school. When I told my teachers, they said I was lying because it sounded like something straight of the 90s PSAs. Looking back at it as an adult, I am more and more convinced it was something sinister. I was hiking by a creek and I went to take a piss. I heard some extra noise when my piss hit the ground. Then I realized I was giving a cottonmouth a golden shower. It was not happy and I was in strike range. I adjusted so I was not pissing on it anymore and he crawled off. In my college dorm, I woke up and waved at a squirrel on a branch outside of my window. It looked at me and stood up and flailed at his little arms a little bit, which I perceived to be a wave. It was like 70% of a normal human wave. So I told all my friends and the only thing they said to me was, "Why are you waving at squirrels? Why would not you wave at squirrels?" One more I just remembered. I was at the beach, volunteering to work with the afternoon session of junior lifeguards. I was in the mornings. The kids are stretching and I turn to look at the water. I see 2 seagulls violently fighting, like really violently. One is trying to drown the other by holding its head underwater. The drowning seagull gets free, throws its head back, screeches loudly, then stabs the other in the chest with its beak. Not a single other person saw that. When I was little, I saw a dragonfly that looked like it came from one of my dinosaur books because it was so huge. I remember it measuring up to about the length of my forearm and being afraid because even though I thought it was a dragonfly, I could see through its abdomen tail, which was orange, and see darker, blood-colored stuff. It had landed on one of our overgrown succulent plants and I waited until it flew away to run into the house. I can't still envision it clearly, still do not know why it was so gigantic. When I was 10 years old, 20 or so horses ran through our neighborhood. Even with the horseshoe marks in our lawn, no one believes me. I accidentally dropped an old Bic pen from the desk to the floor and it landed vertically, tipped to the ceiling. No matter how much I try, I never got to do it again. When I was 8 or 9, I got a lifesaver candy that had an imprint on it where the hole should be. I ate it. After that I looked at the package, immediately recognized the imprint as the one in the picture under the "Find the Special Lifesaver. Win a VW Beetle" contest. No one believed me, and being 8 or 9, I did not realize that the bag was probably special, so the company could verify it. So I gave up trying to convince anyone. I used to work at a horse stable that had some miniature ponies. They were in a separate barn at the top of a little hill. And on my way up to feed them one morning, I kid you not, I came upon probably the most sickly sweet and unbelievable sight of my lifetime. There was a little bunny family with about 3 or 4 baby bunnies hopping around in the stall, nibbling on the grass alongside the ponies, while a small cluster of butterflies flitted around overhead. As I was watching this happen, I could not believe it was real. I was eating noodles in my room and a fly was buzzing around my head. I jokingly snapped for it with my chopsticks, pretending I knew some shit. Then I looked down and I had the ducker pinched by the wing. So there I was sitting with a live fly in my chopsticks, and nobody believed me. I slipped on the carpet near the top of the stairs. While carrying a basket of laundry, I sort of twisted as I was falling, so I was falling backwards. I managed not to go over, but sort of half backwards, ran half fell most of the way. My momentum was building up, so one of my legs shot out from under me around 3 steps from the bottom, and my other leg folded up when I hit the bottom step, soaking up my leftover momentum. So I was squatting with one leg, while the other was on the 3rd step up, like some kind of ninja pose. And I did not drop the laundry. This happened when the house was empty, and I have never told anyone before. When driving along the highway, I saw a piece of paper flying around past all the cars. Out of reflex, I stuck my arm out the window at a straight 180 degrees and caught the piece of paper in my hand. Upon opening it, it was titled "Letter to a Wizard." I still keep this piece of paper to this day. Well, this is not incredible exactly, but years ago Detroit's scumbag Mayor Quayme Kilpatrick had a load of garbage dumped on his mansion lawn. About 5 a.m. the day of, a city garbage truck stopped at mine and my neighbors' houses and picked up our garbage. Normal garbage time was about 2 p.m. normally. I figured they chose us because our garbage was available that early and we lived on a major street en route to downtown. I told everybody that I was pretty sure that was my garbage on his lawn, but nobody believed me. I survived a snowmobile crash. There were actually 2 witnesses, but they did not see me. They saw the crash. I jumped off the sled right before it went into the ditch and crashed into a tree. No one saw that when I jumped, going 60+ mph on a frozen street, that I skidded on my shoulders and helmet at least 100 feet, like a hockey puck. It felt like forever to walk back to the scene of the upside-down sled with everyone freaking the F out thinking I was dead beneath the sled, to literally tap them on the shoulder to say, "I am here, I am okay." I don't know how they do not believe me that it took that amount of time to stop skidding on my head and walk all the way back to the sled. Like, what the F do you think I was doing? Where else would I be? But they swear it did not happen that way. No matter. I am super alive, grateful I only totaled a snowmobile, and I know exactly how it feels to be a hockey puck. I pulled a stick out of my nose. I was 5 and picking my nose because that is what 5-year-olds do. And my finger touched something that felt different. I tried getting it out by dragging it out until I could get 2 fingers to grip it. And when I pulled it out, it was a stick. It was about as long as my pinky. My fingers are much bigger now and I did not think to actually measure it. Sorta reddish brown, and covered in snot. I was so confused about what it was, but I just threw it away and never told my parents. I still have no ducking idea what that thing was. It is one of my most vivid memories from that early on, and Google turns up no results as to what happened. I once told an insect that was walking across my floor to go away. It immediately turned around and went back the way it came from. I felt like I had some kind of superpower that day. No one believes me. I got home after school one day and found that I was locked out of the house. It was in the dead of winter, and too cold for me to safely stay outside. So, I climbed up on the roof of the house, removed the vent fan in the attic, and climbed in. From there, I dropped down into the garage, and then climbed up and over the water heaters back into the attic, crawled across the ceiling beams until I was above my brother's closet, and removed the trapdoor cover and was inside the house. In his closet, felt like I was a super secret spy breaking into some place or a ninja. Adventure, would do again. One time I parked my Jeep next to an identical one with the same interior and exterior color. Same year, 1993, I do not recall any difference between them. The mileage on theirs was like 73,641, 7 or something. My recollection is I quadruple-checked both cars' mileage while parked right next to each other because I was curious whose was older or higher mileage. They had the same mileage to the 10th, or maybe 1/10 of a mile off. Anyway, I would prefer a winning lottery ticket, but that is what I got. Once my family was driving through some mountains somewhere in Idaho. I was like 6 and all of a sudden my dad slammed on the brakes and started backing up the car. We had no clue what was going on while he was asking me who happened to be staring out the window if I saw that. I was like, what? And he put the car in park and got out, asked if we had our cameras, and we were like, number. He pointed to a clearing in the woods that just opened up behind a few trees. Hard to see if you are driving fast. Swear to God, like thousands of elk were in this herd packed into this clearing. My 6-year-old mind was thinking, well, that is like a couple hundred. No, I found pictures of what 500 elk look like. This herd was easily 5 times that size. I just remember my dad telling us to just look at it. Never forget it because no one will believe us and we will never see it again. I am 22 now and remember it perfectly. Some context first. I live close to Oslo, Norway. In an area with lots of noise and people. The only animals you will probably ever see here are deer or moose on the nearby fields in the morning. While walking on a dirt road, surrounded by a few farms, fields and small forests, I managed to spot a lynx. I have read that there are around 500 lynx in total spread all around Norway. So this is probably a once-in-a-lifetime sight in my area. Never heard of anyone seeing anything like this, and no one even believes me. The road is situated less than a kilometer away from a large amount of houses, including the main highway in Norway, which is quite noisy. Even on this road you will hear it in the distance. The lynx was just chilling on the border between a field and a small patch of forest. It was around 40 meters away from me. The sky was blue, could still see some stars, and there was some mist in the air. Stood still and watched it for about 30 seconds before it turned around and walked back into the forest. This was around 6:30 in the morning. Absolutely stunning. Not really incredible but more scary. I was home alone while my parents went to my little brother's orchestra competition. I had just gotten out of the shower when someone knocked on the door, so I went over to the window to get a closer look, and it appears to be a short male in a black hoodie. Dude in the hoodie looked around, and I realized it is my 15-year-old neighbor from down the street. I have never actually spoken with him and I was only 11, so I was contemplating if I should open the door for him. Before I could make the decision, he pulled something out of his pocket, stuck it in the lock, and started trying to open the door. Is my first instinct to run. Number because I am an idiot. The kid is super thin and only 6 inches taller than I am, and I have seen too many action movies. I grabbed a bat, ran up to the door and started cursing at him. He immediately backed away from the door but did not take off. I then opened the door and started chasing after him, swinging the bat in all directions. He bolted down the street and did not stop until he reached his house. Of course, no one believes me because it was all rather ridiculous and unbelievable. So yeah, 11-year-old me was a brash idiot and tried to defend the house with a baseball bat instead of calling the cops or parents. One time I woke up and there was a stranger sleeping in the bed with me and my boyfriend. I somehow managed to not scream or freak out and woke up this incredibly drunk individual to inform him that he was in the wrong apartment. He was just like, oh okay. I helped him walk outside and his friends came and picked him up. The best part, my boyfriend slept through the entire incident. I sprinted back to the room and jumped on him yelling there was a man sleeping with us. He never believed me. Also, I never forgot to lock my door after that. When I was about 10 I was walking in the woods and encountered an adult-sized buck. It actually came up to me and sniffed my hand, then got spooked and decided to run away. Scared the frick out of me, and yeah, no one believes it happened. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.